Good morning, it's Allein Moore, and I'm at Olympia in London, and I'm going to be talking to Valerie Cheng, who is on the judging panel at the D&AD Awards here. Valerie has judged many of our own awards, and she's now in London to do this much more important awards.
I started my career pretty much maybe about 15 years ago, and at that time in our schools nobody was even teaching digital at that point in time. So I pretty much picked up digital through the manuals of Macromedia and just using the software and figuring out how to build a website at that time. Thanks to one of my first bosses, who basically asked me if I could try to build a company's website out of a manual. So that sort of really gave me my surprising head start into digital, actually. If not, I actually graduated from visual communications, which is largely a very design-oriented course. So in that sense, I'm very much an art-based person. And from that experience onwards, I became one of the very few people who could build a website in Singapore. And there was suddenly a rising demand for people who could do that. So I found myself getting into digital almost instantly after I graduated. And then so for the first 10 years, I was primarily working in digital agencies, and that's where I sort of built my digital credibility from those years. The clients are very open now, not as educated yet, but they are very open to learning and very open to experimenting. And the budgets are growing. 5 years ago, we would be struggling to even find the budget to do interesting digital work. But now clients are really on board, and it's actually a very interesting time for all of us. In Singapore, we almost pretty much know each other in the digital sphere, and it's the same few people that we meet every time we go into another agency. We find it very hard to find younger people to groom, and so we go into schools, and sometimes we see the opportunities that we get and who has the potential to be groomed. And if not, we would really have to look outside of Singapore to actually get talent. The judging process, it has been quite a grueling process for most judges, starting from 9 a.m. in the morning till all the way till 6 p.m. straight, not leaving the room unless for lunch and toilet breaks. So and it's mind-boggling, for straight hours like that, and it's quite stressful. And you're not supposed to be switching off. You're supposed to be listening to everyone's comments and their feedback and the discussion. So it can get quite tiring by the end of the day at 6. I think looking at the spectrum of work that we have right now, there's suddenly a bigger focus on work that has scale. Instead of in the past, you would actually get a lot of one-off small pieces of gimmicks and smart little tactics winning the award shows. But I think now more and more the judges' focus is how it works on bigger brands on an integrated level. How does it work? Whether is it right for the brand, and how successful it has been. We're now being a bit more stringent in terms of these criteria, as opposed in the past we would award something purely just for how creative it has been, without looking at the larger picture and whether it has changed anybody's lives. So the criteria are getting tougher. I think having judged a lot of local, regional, and international shows, including Cannes, I realized the entire judging process is actually very different at D&AD. It's a more discussive process. It's about, I can totally describe the process to you right now. We sit in front of a screen, and we pretty much get to discuss every single piece of work. As opposed to in other shows, they actually give you individual computers to sit for the first 2 rounds to actually put in your scores yourself. So the amount of interaction between the judges is actually less in those shows, until when we are into matter discussion. That's when everybody gets to speak. So a lot of times, sometimes there are some insights into work and some background to the pieces of work that are missed out because of the lack of discussion. And I think for what I experienced, at least here at D&AD, we get a clearer picture of the work, because sometimes they all come from different parts of the world, and the representative from the different parts of the world have a bit more, give the rest of the jury a bit more background into the pieces.